As is known, the least explored place on our planet is the ocean. But in reality, even on land, there are many discoveries that people have yet to make. In this video, we will introduce you to the most unusual finds that have been found underground. Number 10. Pompeii. The ancient city of Pompeii is known for its sad story. In 79 AD, a catastrophic eruption of Mount Vesuvius occurred, destroying the city and burying it under a huge layer of volcanic ash and pyroclastic flows. Everything happened so quickly that many people didn't have time to escape and perished. The ruins of Pompeii remained hidden from sight for more than a millennium and a half, until they were discovered in 1599 during the excavation of a canal. However, the first full-scale excavations in the area of Pompeii did not begin until 200 years later. It was at that time that it was discovered that volcanic ash is an excellent natural preservative capable of keeping objects in remarkable condition. Since then, excavations in the ancient city have continued without interruption up to the present day. Pompeii became a true treasure trove for archaeologists, and over several centuries, unique artifacts have been discovered there that reveal not only the events of that tragedy, but also details about the life of ancient Roman society. Among the most valuable finds in Pompeii is the Boscoriale treasure, discovered in 1895 at the Villa Pisanella. In this chest, more than 100 silver vases, 1,000 gold coins, and also a skyphos bowl with a detailed scene of Emperor Tiberius's triumphant return were discovered. Another valuable find is an early Christian room featuring a depiction of a cross, a wooden altar, and vessels used for performing the Eucharist. It is one of the oldest Christian prayer rooms known to science. In addition to these finds, the plaster casts of deceased inhabitants are of particular value. They capture the smallest details, facial expressions, folds in clothing, and the hairstyles of the deceased. These discoveries provide invaluable information about the appearance and lifestyle of ancient Pompeians. Today, Pompeii is not only a popular tourist destination and a UNESCO World Heritage Site, but also one of the most important archaeological monuments of the ancient world. Number 9. The Kola borehole. With the advent of new methods and technologies, scientists are beginning new experiments. Some of them seem to be beyond what we consider possible. One such project was the Soviet geologists' endeavor known as the Kola superdeep borehole. In the 1960s, scientists from the Soviet Union decided to carry out a unique experiment, during which they aimed to get closer to the Earth's core and obtain information about what is happening inside our planet. This idea seemed fantastic, but the experts saw nothing impossible about it and believed in their ambitious plans. The Kola Peninsula was chosen as the site for the project because it lies on the ancient crystalline basement of the Baltic Shield, which is more than 3 billion years old, just 1.5 billion years younger than the Earth itself. In the 1970s, work began on drilling the hole. In the initial phases, drilling progressed fairly quickly. In 9 years, scientists managed to reach a depth of more than 9,500 meters. After that, they encountered many problems. The drill bits kept breaking, and the walls of the borehole collapsed. This significantly slowed down the work, but the scientists did not stop. Eventually, by the 1990s, they had drilled a hole to the astonishing depth of 12,200 meters. Unfortunately, further work was practically impossible. For this reason, the hole was sealed in 1994. During their research, Soviet scientists obtained many previously unknown pieces of information about the composition of Earth's rock, deep underground water solutions, and also about the temperature regime inside our planet. To this day, the Kola borehole remains the deepest borehole on Earth, exceeding even the Mariana Trench by more than 4 kilometers. Number 8. The walrus in the coffin. In 2003, workers began an extensive reconstruction of St. Pancras Station in London. During this work, it was necessary to relocate the cemetery located near the station. It was during the relocation that workers discovered a strange grave, which quickly made headlines around the world and became the subject of much discussion. In one of the graves, they found a damaged coffin, inside of which, in addition to human remains, there were also rather large bones. The find was handed over to anthropologists, who were unable to identify the mysterious remains and turned to zoologists for help. It was they who discovered that the bones belonged to a Pacific walrus, which was quite large compared to the average size of these animals. But how could a Pacific walrus end up in London, and why was it buried in a coffin? After identifying the remains, scientists had to answer all these questions. The discovered grave is dated to the period between 1822 and 1854. In the coffin, besides the animal's bones, there were also the remains of 3 people. On the skull of one of them, traces of surgical procedures were found. This detail allowed scientists to propose a hypothesis that explains the presence of the walrus remains in the coffin. Experts believe that the animal ended up in this grave together with the 3 people not by accident. It is likely that the people buried were doctors who performed autopsies on bodies for scientific purposes. A little later, it was discovered that in 1853, British biologist Richard Owen performed an autopsy on a walrus in London. This confirms the proposed theory about the involvement of doctors in this burial. However, it remains unknown why Owen decided to place the walrus's body in a grave where 3 people were already buried. Number 7. The discovery of a World War II bomb in Augsburg. Almost 80 years have passed since the end of World War II, yet people still occasionally find dangerous objects connected to this event. For example, in December 2016, during construction work in the historic center of the German city of Augsburg, a bomb from the World War II era was discovered. The city authorities were alarmed by this discovery and explained that defusing the bomb would require the evacuation of local residents. The operation was scheduled for Christmas. The authorities explained that they wanted to ensure the safety of residents as soon as possible and, at the same time, give a sort of gift so that people could celebrate the holidays in peace. The evacuation began at 8 in the morning. About 1,000 police officers and members of special units took part in it. During the operation, patients from the Vincennes City Hospital and clergy from the local cathedral also had to be evacuated. It was important for everyone to leave the danger zone during the bomb disposal operation. Schools and sports facilities located at a safe distance from the bomb served as temporary shelters. On that day, a total of 44,000 people were evacuated in Augsburg. According to experts, the bomb found in the city was identified as a blockbuster. It is one of the largest among all the bombs dropped by the Royal Air Force of Great Britain during attacks on Germany. It weighs approximately 2 tons, and its power would be enough, in the event of an explosion, to destroy all buildings within a 1.5-kilometer radius. Fortunately, the specialists managed to do their job and were able to defuse the bomb without any consequences. 2 hours after the evacuation, local residents were already able to return to their homes. Number 6. The buried Ferrari dyno in Los Angeles. Sometimes, surprising discoveries await people in places where they least expect them, for example, right around your own house. That's exactly the kind of story that happened in Los Angeles in 1978. On that day, several children gathered near the home of one of them. This time, they decided to play a bit with the dirt and dug a small hole. At that moment, they noticed a piece of plastic sheeting and decided to dig it up. Then the children realized that something was getting in the way of their digging. They carefully cleared the soil with their shovels and discovered that there was a car buried in the ground. The children quickly informed their parents about what they had found. The next day, detectives arrived at the site of the strange discovery. They continued the digging that the children had started and found an almost new green Ferrari Dino 246 GTS buried underground. But how could this car have ended up underground? And more importantly, why? This question greatly intrigued the detectives, and they began their investigation. They checked the car's number in the database and found out that it belonged to a man named Rosento Cruz. The man had bought the car as a birthday present for his wife. The detectives decided not to give up on the case and to find the perpetrator. They had to put in quite a bit of effort to succeed. The results of the investigation shocked even the experts themselves. It turned out that the Ferrari had been stolen on Cruz's own orders. With this kind of fraud, the man wanted to collect the insurance payout and, after a few years, retrieve his car from a secure underground hiding place. His plan was almost successful, but the accidental discovery by the children ruined the enterprising Rosento Cruz's scheme. Number 4. A Polish priest hides a bronze bell from the Nazis. During World War II, many terrifying and inhuman events took place. Hitler spared no one and nothing. At that time, many works of art were stolen, and even churches were exploited for selfish purposes to strengthen the Nazi army. After the war began, the German Reich faced serious problems with the supply of non-ferrous metals and ores. For this reason, in January 1940, Reich Minister Goering issued an order for the collection of metals throughout the country. Later, everything made of metal was confiscated even in those countries whose cities were invaded by the Nazi army. Church bells had special value because they were very heavy, and many of them were made of bronze. Usually, it was impossible to resist the German soldiers, so the clergy and parishioners simply had to accept the removal of the bells. However, one of the Polish priests decided to save at least one of his church's bells. With the help of parishioners, he took down the 150-kilogram bronze bell and buried it in the ground near the church. There it remained hidden from the eyes of strangers for many decades. In 2021, during pipe-laying work, workers discovered this very bell underground. Experts extracted it from the ground and handed it over to the museum. Now, this bell serves as a kind of monument, reminding us of the horrors of war and the devotion of the clergy to their faith. Number 3. The remains of ships beneath San Francisco from the Gold Rush era. Few people know that beneath the modern streets of San Francisco lie the remains of many sailing ships. They all appeared here in 1849 during the California Gold Rush. This amazing story began when, in January 1848, a carpenter named James Marshall accidentally discovered gold in a river near Mount Nevada. This discovery changed the fate not only of the city, but of all America. Today, San Francisco is a large, developed city, but before the discovery of gold, it had fewer than 1,000 inhabitants, and almost all of them were Native Americans. As soon as news of the gold spread literally around the world, migrants from many countries began arriving in San Francisco. By the end of 1849, the city's population had grown to 100,000 people. Thousands of adventurers arrived in California in search of wealth. All these people abandoned their ships, hoping to become rich in an instant. But of course, with such competition, only a few individuals managed to fulfill this dream. Soon, those who hadn't struck it rich on the gold veins left San Francisco, but the ships remained in the bay. Some enterprising residents began converting the ships into real estate. They hauled them ashore. This is how the famous Niantic Hotel was created, which became a hallmark of the city. After the Great Fire of 1851, many ships sank. The bay cleared out, and the locals quickly found a way to profit from the abandoned ships. According to the law, the owner of a sunken ship could claim the land beneath it. Gradually, they began to fill in the shallow bay with earth, creating new land for construction. Remains of ships still turn up during construction work. For example, during the building of a metro station, the whaling ship Lydia was discovered with several dozen bottles of ginger beer in its hull, and part of the city's metro line actually passes directly through the hull of a 60-meter-long ship, something most tourists have no idea about. Number 1. The Miss Belvedere Time Capsule. Unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately, time machine has not yet been invented, but people have still found ways to share messages about their lives with future generations. Bottles thrown into the sea, wall drawings and inscriptions, and many other things are used for this purpose. Various objects can serve as time capsules, including cars. Miss Belvedere is one such time capsule. Her story began in the summer of '57. The city administration of Tulsa, Oklahoma, together with local residents, decided to leave a message for future generations to be opened after 50 years. This idea caught the attention of the management of the Plymouth Automobile Company. In 2007, exactly 50 years later, another ceremonial gathering was held, the opening of the Miss Belvedere time capsule. When the bunker was opened, all the spectators saw that unfortunately the car had suffered serious damage because the shelter had been flooded by groundwater from time to time. For this special occasion, a new model of the Plymouth Belvedere with a hardtop sport coupe body in a golden color was donated. At that time, it was a very expensive and luxurious vehicle, with a powerful engine and an innovative push-button automatic transmission. Even today, this model still amazes with its unusual and refined design. Naturally, the city administration of Tulsa was very enthusiastic about its success. It was decided to hold a ceremonial event, during which it was announced that the car, along with a symbolic sum of $100, would go to whoever correctly guessed the population of the city in 2007. That's all for today's video. Thank you for watching and see you next time.